This is the Money Loves Women podcast, the podcast that guides women to wealth and an extraordinary life. Here's your host, Dr. Deborah Ekstrom.
This is Dr. Deborah Ekstrom for the Money Loves Women podcast. Today I'd like to welcome Dr. Amanda Barrientez. She's known as the Mindset Healer. She's the founder of Inner Power Daily, which is an international best-selling author. She's a host of one of the top 2% globally rated podcasts called Inner Power Entrepreneur. She went from food stamps to building a six-figure business fast, and she's on a quest to teach entrepreneurs and business professionals science-based strategies to reprogram their energy, mindset, and habits so that they can get what they want in life and in business. Welcome to the program, Dr. Amanda. It's so nice to see you, and we can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Happy to be here, Dr. Deborah. Nice to see you.
Tell us a little bit about your growing up years and give us some context around yourself, your training, and so forth, or lack thereof.
Yeah, that's such a big question. Where would you want me to start? Say more. I'm curious. Like background information in terms of childhood is a long time ago.
Where did you grow up?
Yeah,
and what were your, what was up with your parents such that you kind of ended up in this direction? Were there some influences there?
Yeah. I grew up fundamentalist Christian, and I would say that was one of the biggest influential factors of the way that my life played out in big ways for a long time. So I grew up in Summit County in Colorado. A lot of people know it as, Breckenridge, Keystone, like the fancy ski resort area. But when my family moved there, it was 2 paved roads and 1 chairlift at Keystone Mountain. So I lived there for a long time and saw it grow a lot and change a lot. And then I think a big thing that influenced my reality was I was one of the only brown kids in school. So I'm Native American. And so my mom cleaned my rich friends' houses, and my dad they moved up there because my dad was a water sales guy. Like he sold deep rock water. And so he moved up there because no one else was willing to go up to 9,500 feet to live. And so he said, I'll do it. And then he moved us up there. And then, my parents were like serial entrepreneurs and, lots of years of struggle and then lots of years of success and boom bust, and interesting childhood mixed in with the fundamentalist Christian way of thinking where it was really strict and black and white. And I didn't know, of course, when I was growing up, how much that affected me. But later on, when I went into grad school for my PhD in sociology and became a radical feminist, I then looked back and thought, wow, that really affected me quite a bit, the way that I was raised.
Tell us a little bit about that influence of fundamental Christian background, because some people don't know what that really is.
Yeah, I would say there's a spectrum of the way that people interact religiously. And the way that my family was, it was that, there was this belief that the only people that were going to go to heaven were the people that were in my exact denomination. And if they weren't in that, they would burn in hell for all of eternity, what I was taught my whole childhood. And there were very rigid black and white rules. So when you think about fundamentalism from any perspective, it would just be black and white ways of thinking, like this is right and this is wrong. And, so I would go to bed every night praying to be forgiven for my sins. And if I woke up in the morning and thought, oh my God, I forgot to pray. Oh no, I could have burned in hell for all of eternity. It's a really interesting way to live in a fear-based scarcity mentality.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Lots of people live in fear, right? So
yeah,
don't recognize it. So I was brought up Calvinist, and we were taught that everybody in our denomination was the elect, and we were going to heaven, and everyone else, especially Catholics, were going to burn in hell. So, it seems like, a few of us thought we had a stranglehold on being the only right ones and everybody else was the wrong ones.
Yeah, so, definitely.
I didn't really buy in very early, but early on I didn't buy in. But
yeah.
Anyway, I'm completely familiar with how that works. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you went off to college, and where did you go to school?
In Boulder, so Colorado native, and lived in Colorado. I've traveled quite a bit, but the Boulder, Colorado CU. So I got my undergraduate, and then I got pregnant when I was 20, dropped out, and didn't think I would ever go back. We had 3 kids. I homeschooled. A lot of upheaval and tumultuous beginnings because we got married so young. And he ended up, going for engineering, and I was going for my psych undergrad. And, he thought, well, I have better potential to make money. And so he asked me to drop out. We kept trying to have us both raise our daughter and go to school at the same time, but he was having a lot of stress and anxiety. And so he talked me into dropping out. And I dropped out, and it got more and more challenging to go back. And so, I spent 10 years, actually about 12 years at home, just being a stay-at-home mom and doing side hustle businesses, and really frustrated because he never graduated. And so here we were, financially unstable. I didn't have a degree. We have 3 kids, and a lot of challenges. And finally I decided I'm going back to school. And so I went back to school, finished my undergraduate, and then went straight into a PhD program for sociology. So psych and sociology, behavioral sciences. And I thought, this is the path for me. I'm going to be a professor. But along that journey, a lot happens to lead me into entrepreneurship.
You must be a natural born entrepreneur, because there you were at home, you didn't have your degree, you were raising your kids, but you were doing your little side hustles. What kinds of things did you do?
Yeah, I did. I had an eBay store. So I sold sporting goods on eBay. And then I started doing real estate investing with my dad, which was really fun. And we were doing really well. But between juggling 3 kids, homeschooling, and the business, it was overwhelming. And, my husband didn't enjoy that I was gone so much. And so I gave it up, which I look back and I'm like, man, we would have made a big real estate investing was fun, and it was going really well. So yes, I always had this entrepreneurial spirit. I've never really liked to be told what to do. And so, one of the benefits of entrepreneurship is that I get to design my own day and life and impact income, all of those things, how I do my business. And it's a really great fit for me in those ways.
Yeah, excellent. So between your entrepreneurial spirit, your PhD in psychology and all the learning you did in psychology, and your background, it's very interesting that the things that you do now. So talk a little bit about yourself as the mindset healer, and why you do that and what the impacts are.
Yeah. So what happened was, during that journey, I ended up leaving while I was in grad school. I left my 15-year marriage having an affair with someone that was in my program. And we weren't getting along well. And I had a lot of struggles in relationship. And so here I am one night laying on the floor crying. I'm looking out at this empty basement where he had moved all of his stuff. And I'm scanning my life history going, like, who can I blame? What's the problem here? And I recognized that across every part of my life, I was the common denominator. And so I thought, I'm the problem. Like, I need to change. And so I made this declaration to myself that I was willing to do whatever it takes to make more money and have better relationships, because I was really stuck and freaking out. Here I am on food stamps. I have 3 kids. I'm in grad school. I'm already working another job on top of being in grad school. And I was scared. I was facing homelessness because I had spent the day looking for houses and I couldn't afford anything for me and my 3 kids. And so when I had this moment, I really didn't know where it would lead me. And it ended up leading me to podcasts because they were free and I could learn on the go. And so I started listening to them on double speed every chance I got. And while this is happening and I'm starting to learn and change my thinking, my department had this national news fallout where professors were leaving the department. And I was thinking, I don't want this job anymore. This looks really stressful. And so here I am thinking that, and I'm going, well, all of these podcasts are done by coach type people, and I love to teach. So I had won teaching awards at my university, and I just loved my students. And so I thought, what if I could take the leap and be an entrepreneur, be a coach, and I could really make huge impact and make whatever amount of money I want and not have to move and not have this huge stressful job as a professor. So I went for it. And then that first year I went from food stamps to 6 figures in my business. And that really set the stage for people asking me, what are you doing? What, this is really working for you. They could see my transformation. And then when I would talk to clients and share my stories with them and the strategies I was playing with, they were like, wow, this really works. And so over time, I started having people do first money stories. And it was so fun to read their money stories and see the overlaps between all different types of people with different income levels, and notice that the patterns that I saw were the same. And it didn't matter if it was a man or a woman or what type of business or what type of income they had the same money blocks. And so I started really focusing on mindset and money mindset and how to transform. And I paid a lot of attention to unconscious blocks and how their money their money story would help me see what was unconsciously causing them to struggle.
Very good. So your podcast, you said you went to six figures with your podcast. So lots of people think, okay, she was on food stamps, then she was at six figures and something magic happened in between, but I'm not really clear what. So give us a better idea about what that transformation was like.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it was six figures straight from my podcast. It was from all of the things that I was doing, including doing a podcast. And it looked like me being very driven, listening and learning every single day. Like I was on fire, having the belief that it was possible because I went to marketing events and I saw other coaches making six figures and 6, 7, 8 figures. And I was like, well, if they can do it, I can do it. So I really had this strong belief and I took daily action. I mean, I was on fire. And, the easiest thing I could say there is that I learned as I went and I just took daily action and then let the next step appear to me instead of thinking I had to have it all mapped out. So I knew, okay, I'm going to start posting content. I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going to start talking to people and go to all the networking events that I can. And because I was so inspired when I talked to people, I would have a really powerful conversation and they would ask to work with me. And then I would come up with a package on the fly. I'd go like, okay, well, here's my package. And then they would, they'd give me a check. And I like nearly fainted the first time someone gave me a check for $2,500, for a coaching package. I was like, what? That was more than my monthly income in grad school. And I thought, holy moly, this is amazing. And so I just kept moving forward and learning everything I could. And I would say to people listening, it's about, I tell people, decide, commit, take action. It's decide, commit, take action.
So foundations of wealth building are not too different, right? So make a decision for wealth is my very first step. Make a decision. Because if you don't make a decision, you're not going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
So that's outstanding that you did that. I'm really interested in this little piece that you talked about. You saw the same money story patterns. I think that's what you meant, right?
Yep.
The money story patterns over and over. And, are there just a few? Are there like 6? Are there 8? Are there 10? Are there 100? How many are there?
I came up with 3 that really incorporate all of them into an umbrella. So the 3 are money is bad, money is scarce, and money causes stress. So, when you have this money is bad block, often it comes from people who come from a religious background, not always, but it can, spiritual or religious, where they think if I get too rich, I'm going to be a greedy jerk, or people will think I'm a greedy jerk. Money is corrupt. Is it spiritual to make money? Capitalists are the evil of the world. That kind of thing would be a money is bad money block. Money is scarce would be where you don't think you have enough time to make money and have a healthy body, or make enough money and enjoy your family. And so you feel like you have to decide one or the other. And you also have this belief that there's never enough. So it was wild to me to work with people who were multimillionaires and they still had this fear that there was never going to be enough. Like, oh no, if I stop working this hard, it might run out. And then the money, it causes stress, often came from kids who, like in their childhood, they watched their parents either work really hard for a lot of money or work really hard for no money. Yes. And it created in their minds, money is stressful. And so they tended to avoid looking at their P&L or doing their books or looking at their checking account. And so then they had to work a lot harder to make the money they were making because they weren't being strategic about it. And so those were the 3 that I kept seeing over and over again. And so being a researcher and a PhD researcher, I always look for patterns and things. And so those were the patterns that I saw.
That is so interesting. I think I could find myself a little bit in each one of those.
Yeah.
Maybe we're combos. I don't know. But it's interesting because you and I were both in entrepreneurship and money, right? And with kind of the same programming early on in life. But my father was also entrepreneur. He was a farmer. My mother was at home and did not have a lot of power in the family because she wasn't bringing in money.
Yeah. Oh, so
early on, I kind of vowed I'm not going to be in that position. I'm going to have my own money.
Yeah.
And I always have had, and it does make people powerful. I did a newsletter this week. I have to kind of laugh because I did a little quote from from Maya Angelou's work. And it was something about the coin in your purse is not just your money, it's the power,
Oh,
the power that you have in your life,
yeah.
the,
Yeah.
and the freedom you have in your life. And I think to me, that's a lot of what having your own money and being responsible for your own money, because that's step number 2. Make a decision for wealth, or make a decision for money, and then take responsibility for your money. So, you have to get over those avoidance things that come from all that. I'm afraid I don't have enough, so I can't look at the P&L, at the profit and loss statement, or I can't look at my bank accounts, or I can't look at my budget, or I can't set up a budget, or I can't set up a spending plan. I can't follow any of that because it's scarce, and I don't want to know how scarce it is, and I want to avoid it.
Yeah.
I forget the first one that you said.
Money is bad.
Money's bad. Yeah. Money's bad. And there's lots of people in medicine actually that kind of think that way, especially women.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they seem to be very social work oriented. And it's like, those are not mutually exclusive. Excuse me. You can do good while you're doing well.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that in medical students and stuff. And I appreciate that they're very idealistic. And obviously we want those kinds of people around, right?
Yeah.
We all hopefully work better when we're working from an ideal. Well, that's really cool. How long did it take you to really get to the level of success where you didn't feel like, oh my God, I'm worried about my daily needs and how my kids are going to thrive? How long did it take you
Weirdly, it was really fast. And part of that was because my expenses were so low, because I was already on food stamps, living in subsidized housing. And so when I started coaching, my income dramatically increased very rapidly. And it was like, oh my God, I've been starving this whole time, not literally, but figuratively, just feeling stuck in survival mode, and really like feeding my kids beans and rice and figuring out fun ways to spice up the beans and rice, And so when I went from that to all of a sudden, like, oh my God, a 6-figure month, where it was like all of a sudden I had the income to be at 6 figures. So I was making $8,500 a month, like very quickly. And I was like, whoa, this is incredible that this is possible. And so it became, I would say, almost an obsession to teach people how to up level, because I realized how it felt to be stuck in that awful mode of, the word you used, I love. It's why my company is Inner Power Daily, because power. I felt completely powerless a lot in my life, for a lot of my life, for decades. And then when I started to learn universal laws and implement them, and I was like, whoa, I have the rules to the game of life and I can win and I feel powerful. And that powerful piece is just that aligning with like, what do I want to do in the world? What do I enjoy doing? How can I serve people and make money doing it? And just like you said with the students, instead of going from this mentality of there are people in the world suffering, and if I make money, then I'm a contributing factor to them suffering, versus, oh, actually, the more money I make, the more impact I can make. And so I really just massively transformed my mindset and started to help people do that, because I saw how many people were suffering in those ways, even people who were high power. It's like I worked with a lot of really wealthy, high power people. I lived in Boulder, and, it's a very elite community. And it was like, whoa, people are struggling even when they have a lot of money. I thought money like solved all the problems,
Yes. It's a very common belief, right? That money solves the problems. It's very interesting because I've talked to a few women who work with really wealthy people, and their families, and the fears that they have of spoiling their kids, and sometimes they do, and things like that. But money doesn't solve your problems, and money doesn't make you a good or a bad person. It just amplifies whoever you are.
Yes, exactly.
If you're kind of a greedy bad person who's out for themselves and never doing anything good for anybody else, it's going to amplify that. But if you are out to create value for other people, and like you are there, Amanda, to help them along their path. So I'm really interested. You said something that caught my ear. You said the universal laws.
Yeah.
And I know you probably can't go through all the universal laws, and there's a few, but tell us a little bit about which ones you like to bring forward in your coaching, particularly to help people get insights.
Yeah. I'll say most prominently, I teach law of attraction, which incorporates all of the important ones, I would say. And so it was wild to go from being an academic and researcher to going, oh, all of a sudden I'm going to start teaching about manifestation and universal laws. It was, at first, I thought, wow, people are going to think I'm a total fool, you know? And so it took a little bit of just experimenting myself and seeing how they worked and then going, wow, this is actually the answer I've been looking for my whole life. And really it comes down to energy. So I love law of energy, law of frequency, thinking about how we are energy and that everything in the universe is energy, and we connect and we share in an energetic field. And so whatever you're putting out into the energetic field is going to come back to you in the exact match. And so what I teach people is how to get aligned in their inner power, their state of being first and foremost, to then attract what they want their way, not by sitting on the couch and just wishing it into existence. Yes, you think thoughts that come into existence, but you will always take action on what you believe. So if you believe something to be true, you're automatically going to take action. And so you have the thought, you take the action, you attach it to emotion, and your energy that you put out is high vibrational frequency. And then you attract back to you with ease. And really, that just means that whatever frequency you're at, you're going to match that frequency in the universe and it's going to come back to you. And so the easiest way to know is how you feel. You wake up in the morning feeling stressed, you're putting out a frequency that's going to attract things to keep being stressed about. You wake up in the morning, you feel joy, you're going to attract things that cause you to feel more joy.
So it's so interesting too. We haven't talked about energy and personal energy very much lately on my podcast. And I think the person that I'd like to point people to is Bruce Lipton, who first wrote about the biology of belief.
Yeah.
And I'd noticed for a long time in my reading and study how I love physics, first of all. And I'm not good at math, so I didn't become a physicist. But I love physics. And I think the reason I love it is because so much of it is spiritual. And the convergence of that coming together. But when I read Bruce Lipton's book, The Biology of Belief, and started to realize that we actually could change our inner physical person by the vibrations that we produce with our thoughts, that was really a revelation to me. And it completely made sense. It sounds like magic or woo-woo to lots of people, but it's physics. And it's physics and biology. And I think it's so fantastic. And I think, when you start talking about the universal laws, I think a lot of it's all about that. It's about your vibration, right? And you said it's all summed up in this one thing.
Yeah.
The force be with you, however you want to think of it.
Yeah,
But,
absolutely.
yeah, it's magnificent. So you said early on, you're kind of skeptical yourself, right? When you're going like, okay, is this energy, this law of attraction? Yeah, okay, I've given it lip service, but does it really work? I think I better prove it before I start selling it to other people, right? Because you get good at it. So tell me some stories about how you discovered that the law of attraction really worked.
Oh, so many good ones. For me, it was starting to frame my mindset in a new direction. And, I like that you said your first step is to make the decision for wealth. And so I started shifting my values to wealth building. Like I made my first value be wealth building. And so everywhere I started to look, like everything that started to happen in my life, I would revalidate by saying, I'm a money magnet. Everything I touch turns to gold. And I would attract more money to me. So I just started following the principles. I was like, okay, I choose to attract more money. I know that I need to vibrate at a higher frequency, which means I choose to have a relationship with money that isn't strain, stress, struggle. So I started to play with money in a way of responsibility, and what you appreciate appreciates. And so I started to track all the money that I spent. And then every time I got money coming in, I would say, I'm a money magnet. And if I got up to the checkout line and there was something that I bought was on sale, I'd say, I'm a money magnet. And I just started playing with following my energy and being intentional about my thoughts around money. And it started to shift. And then all of a sudden, here I am getting off of food stamps, building my savings, building my investing, building my business. And so it's not an overnight thing, because you must have repetitive thoughts in order for them to come into reality. And I tell people this: we have 60,000 thoughts a day. 90% of them are the same as yesterday, and 85% of them are negative. So imagine if you instantaneously manifested everything you thought about, our life would be a total nightmare, right? Like we'd have a lot of negative things happening. So what it takes is repetition. So you repeatedly think, feel, and do things that then attract into your reality. And so I would just start shifting my focus on money, tracking it, spending time with it. I would write love letters to money. I played with, it was wild. It was just so fun. I started reading everything I could about money, hanging out with wealthy people. And by doing that, I became someone who vibrated in wealth consciousness and started to attract money my way. So that was the first thing I'd say.
Fabulous, fabulous. I have an interesting story for you. So, Mary Morrissey, who is my mentor, one of my mentors, she was doing her training. She wanted to manifest in a big way her teaching and her spiritual take on how to create success and have a life you love. So she was at a big seminar, and I forget who it was who came out. And he came out to the stage, all these people watching and waiting. He comes out in the lights to the microphone, and he pulls out a whole bunch of $100 bills out of his pocket. Have you heard this story?
Baby, keep going. Yeah. I'm curious. Yeah.
So he kisses this money, and he says, "I just love money." And she's sitting there going, "Whoa, he's not spiritual. He's not."
Yes.
And that's what she was thinking. And then he said, "Now some of you are out there thinking, whoa, what's going on with this guy? He's got this relationship with money. Maybe you're even thinking he couldn't possibly even be spiritual." And she went, "Oh my God." And then he said, "What if I took my grandchild and held him up in front of you and kissed him and said, I just love my grandchild?" And he said, "If you have a problem with a juxtaposition of those two, you have a bad relationship with money." And I thought, wow, what a powerful way to force you to assess your attitude toward money. And it transformed her attitude toward money, and pulled out some of the things that she was not in resonance with in terms of growing her wealth and being successful and having a life she'd love. And so she used her own experiences, obviously, to also train other people, just as you have, and just as I do. But I love that story, right? Because this guy was so impactful.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think it takes something like that to shake us into recognizing our negative beliefs.
Yeah.
And I love what you said about how many negative beliefs we have every day. I think there's two things. I love the way you were going around saying, "Whoa, I'm a money man." Wow. When I find coins on the ground, I pick them up because I say, "Oh, it's the angels watching over me and they're sending me."
Yeah, I know. I love that. Yes. Yes. Well, and it's exactly like you're saying. It's like a love story with money. You treat it with respect and love and care, and it will grow.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
There's something else that I came across just recently, and one of my commitments is to live a life with gratitude, and not just an attitude, but also a practice of gratitude. And one of the ways I've found that I can manifest that, and it makes me vibrate at a higher level and just makes you feel wonderful, is to in fact practice appreciation. Silently and out loud. And when you see people doing fine things, good things, see their beauty out in the world, and that, just comment on it.
Yeah.
Thank people for things. And when I live my life with a lot of deep appreciation, I find that it really raises my vibration. So those two things, right? Welcoming money, loving money, which is why, of course, we say money loves women, because money loves you. And if you don't love it back, it's not coming in your life.
Yeah, I know. I love that name of your podcast. It's such a clever name. And it's so true, right? Like I always tell people, say, I love money and money loves me. I love money and money loves me.
Absolutely true. So, I think that's a really great point to make. And I love your laws. The laws of success and achievement have been out there for a while. I think I first listened to them with Brian Tracy, maybe you did too. He's still around doing his thing.
Yeah.
He contributed a lot to my life. Back in the days when you could put tapes in your car.
Yeah. My dad listened to Brian Tracy and Zig Ziglar. I love those guys.
Two towering presence. In the old days, and taught probably a lot of us stand on their shoulders, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us, so here's something else I like, and I want to point this out because we as women don't always jump in. We wait until we think we want to know, we need to know everything, And we also are worried about what other people will think if we're in, if we make a mistake or we're not adequate. So you said that you would set up your coaching clients and make up a package for them on the fly. And that is so unfeminine. I say this fairly frequently. Men run the world and women make the world run. And that's a way that we can step up and help to run the world a bit more. Because it's not appropriate for men to have to do it by themselves or women to have to make the world run by themselves, right? We have to get into teamwork with that. But I love it when women go, they raise their hand. Me, pick me. Yes, I'll do that. I have no clue how to do it, but I can figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really wonderful. But you did the packages on the fly. So that's how you built your entrepreneurship. I also want to point out that you're a PhD. And at one point, a PhD means poor, hungry, and driven. Tell us some good stories from, without telling too much, about some of your successes with your coaching.
Coaching's so fun. I'd say some really fun things that happen. Often it's a one thought shift. So money stories have been a huge contributing factor to people shifting quickly. So, I had a client who already had a really high income and doubled it in 1 week after our first 2 sessions. And it was amazing to watch because it was really just him recognizing, oh, this is my block. And once that was removed, he was able to sell in such an easy way. So, money blocks have to do with the way we promote ourselves in the world. And I love what you were saying about like women, sometimes being in the background and not taking action in the same way. And so, it's like women, when they have a mindset shift, can make easier money because no longer are they being blocked by all of their limiting beliefs. And so, when I work with people, it's like, doubling their income. I've had that happen several times. People all of a sudden just waking up and feeling like, oh my God, I actually feel confident and excited to do my work instead of feeling freaked out and scattered. People will lose weight. It's like everything is integrated. And so all of a sudden they'll start doing what I'm teaching them and they lose weight. Their relationships get better. They start to make more money. They start to enjoy their clients more. They reduce their stress. They start to delegate. And then because they enjoy what they're doing and they start to recognize what their zone of genius is. And so then they delegate and automate things. They free up time. It's really fun to watch people grow. And something I think that's been really powerful with coaching is that they come to work with me and almost always they'll say they want to make more money. Like that's one of the things that they clearly can identify as an issue. And they walk away with so many different things that they would have never known was even a problem. And then they go, oh my God, I just feel better. When you do inner power work and you tap into the law of attraction, the whole point is to feel better about your life, right? It's about, let's wake up in the morning and feel excited for my day. And let's design my life from that place. And I talk about reverse engineering your business to create a life you love. And so when you wake up and do what you love, every day feels good. And then money magnetizes to you automatically. Your relationships that aren't aligned will fall away. And, it's just so many benefits from doing mindset work that gets you aligned. And I would say even beyond mindset work, it's energy work. Like doing energy work is what is, to me, the key missing piece for all people. Most people live lives of stress on the hamster wheel. I call it being on the treadmill of BS, where they're just running hard, but they're not really getting where they want to go. And they wake up feeling like, isn't there more to life than this? And then they just keep doing it because they don't really know what else to do. And so when I get people like that, it's so fun because they're ready. If they're coming to me, the law of attraction has attracted us through them being ready to change. Because I'm one of those people that's like, hey, you're ready. I got the tools for you. Let's do it. Game on. And so they come in, they're ready, they take action, and they get just wildly rapid and really transformational results that are because it's permanent, lasting change in the way that you think and feel.
Amanda, for people who have never experienced a coach, having a coach, to have somebody actually in your corner that's behind you, that's not judging, that's just there and that's totally on for your success. A lot of people have never experienced that, and it is really a phenomenal thing to have. just a phenomenal thing. And I have to laugh because I know of a woman who's an inspirational speaker, and I've talked about her before, but she got on Oprah, and she went from like the ghetto, talk about being on food stamps. She went from the ghetto to this place and had a lot of bad stuff in between from when she was growing up. Dead end jobs and bad relationships and, casual sex and all that. But she eventually got on Oprah. And during the break, when they were filming, Oprah said to her, "How many coaches do you have, Lisa?" And she said, "Well, I've got 2." She said, "How many do you have?" And Oprah said, "I have 4."
Love
So
it.
there you go. I guess you never run out of need for assistance with growth. And to have, sometimes I think the higher you perform, the more likely it is that you need a coach or multiple coaches, because it helps to give you perspective, and it keeps you in that growth mode when you start to doubt yourself. And so, a good coach is worth a lot. Let's just put that out in the universe there.
Absolutely. I always think, I could help somebody have one mindset shift and it brings them millions of dollars and a very highly successful experience in their life. Or, it's just like, oh, well, what's that worth? And I so agree with you. That would be a wish that I had for everyone on the planet, is to have a coach. I think it's such a gift to be able, just like you were saying, to help people see what they don't see, and to both support and challenge them into growing into the, highest version of themselves that feels really aligned and wakes up every day feeling good. When you have someone on your side to help you do that, you can grow a lot more quickly. And yeah, it's just such a cool transformational tool. That was when I was listening to the podcast and decided to become a coach. I was so incredibly inspired because I realized they don't teach us in school. They don't teach us how to have good relationships. They don't teach us how to have self-confidence. They don't teach us how to have a good relationship with our money. Those things are never talked about.
Yeah,
And
don't teach us anything about money.
yeah,
That's the problem. There's no, and I don't know how intentional that is, but we don't learn about money. You're right. We don't learn how to parent. We don't learn how to be in strong relationships. We don't even know what those look like.
Yeah. And those are the 3 things that really help us thrive. It's like,
Yes.
do you feel confident? Do you have good relationships? Do you know how to master your money? Like, if you can master those things, life is awesome. But they don't teach them in school. You actually have to seek them out, because especially you've learned a lot of things that are negative that you need to unlearn in order to have those things be successful.
I heard somebody say one time that what you learn in school will make you a living, and what you spend your time and effort learning out of school will create your life.
Yeah, I like that. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah, including your financial life.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting that high achievers are lifelong learners. They're readers and studiers and are very, very curious. So I suspect you work with a lot of high achievers.
Definitely. Yes.
It's got to be a lot of fun to do what you do, Amanda.
It's so fun. I love it. It's my joy.
Yeah. If you were going to give women your counsel on something they could do right here and now, from your point of view and your expertise, to make themselves more successful, what would you say?
Can I give a plug? It's going to sound funny, but it's going to be a plug.
Absolutely.
Go download my book, I'm a Money Magnet. Just go to I'mAMoneyMagnetBook.com. Free chapters to teach you how to use affirmantras. And the reason I say this, because you're asking me about success and to tell women what to do. Most people use affirmations incorrectly. And so I teach how to use them correctly so that you're not fighting against yourself. Because typically what happens is you're affirming something that you don't have yet. Otherwise, why would you be affirming it? And so you're saying something to yourself in an I am statement, which is traditionally taught. And then in your internal being, because 95% of you is subconsciously run, let's say that you don't believe that what you're saying is true, you're actually causing resistance and pushing the thing away. And so what you want to do is use what I call starter statements. So you use a starter statement to say the affirm mantra repetitively, and then your brain goes, yeah, that's true. So an example of this would be, the whole book is related to money and breaking through your money blocks and your money beliefs. So let's say in mine, I would say I'm a money magnet. Everything I touch turns to gold, because I loved that. It made me feel good. if I said something that didn't make me feel good, I would say, I prefer to be a money magnet, right? So let's say you don't believe you're a money magnet, you're stressed out about money. Instead, you'd say, I prefer to be. So that's an example of a starter statement. Or you could say, I have decided to be a money magnet. You could say, I've decided to be responsible with my money, instead of saying, I am responsible with my money. I am responsible with my money, right? So you feel the difference there, and you want it to be 100% believable to you so that you can actually program your mind for success. And so I teach people how to program their subconscious mind for success and attract what they want.
That is absolutely great. That's gold nuggets right there. I think lots of people use affirmations, and then their subconscious mind goes, "No, you're not."
Yeah,
Or, "No,
you're full of crap.
yeah, that's come to be yes. That's
Yeah.
not even true. How can you say that? So I like I prefer to be, but I really like, I have decided to. I
Yeah.
have decided, because now it gives you power and control. That is absolutely brilliant. Thank you for that.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yeah,
I love the subconscious reprogramming tools.
yes, excellent. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you, Dr. Amanda. It's been a true pleasure. You're a PhD in multiple ways.
It is interesting. I feel like I have way more hours now in law of attraction and in personal growth and development than I did in my sociology degree.
But it gave you a great start and a great springboard, and lots of expertise
Yes,
and credibility. So all of those things are powerful forces.
definitely.
So, well, thank you for sharing all of your information with us, for your wisdom, and for your counsel. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
This is Dr. Deborah Ekstrom for the Money Loves Women podcast. If you need to reach out to Amanda, I don't want to miss this, go to Dr. Amanda at innerpowerdaily.com. And is there anywhere else, Amanda, just as a last word, where we should go if we, besides I'm a moneymagnet.com? Did I get that right?
Yeah. Yep. I'm a moneymagnetbook.com. They can get free chapters and order the book. So I am a money magnet book, but the handles for everything for me are Inner Power Daily. So if they go to innerpowerdaily.com, I'm most active social media wise on Instagram and LinkedIn. And I have a ton of free and paid for resources to help people really, I like to say, align their energy to experience rapid business growth or rapid personal transformation. So all of the things that I create are for that.
Which also follows through in terms of money. So all of that. Yeah. Thanks for those resources. If anybody wants to reach out to Dr. Amanda and work with her to transform their money mind and improve their business, improve your business, or improve your personal life, any of those things, who can't be in a position to enjoy a little bit more money and more solace and peace in their life? We all can do that. So thanks again for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Money Loves Women podcast. Please leave us a rating and review so we know how we can improve. Visit moneyloveswomen.com to gain more insight into how to live an extraordinary life.